This story is about a widow named Amelia, who makes a choice that will destroy everything she's built, or set her free. When she finds a dying stranger on a dusty village road, she faces an impossible decision. Walk away and protect her reputation, or save his life and become an outcast. She chooses mercy, but the consequences come fast. The village elders condemn her, her home is threatened, and then the real nightmare begins. Her husband, the man she buried 8 years ago, walks back into her life, alive, wealthy, and married to someone else. Now his powerful new wife wants Amelia erased from existence. What happens when kindness becomes your greatest crime? When the dead return with demands? Stay until the end, because this story will challenge everything you believe about love, survival, and the courage to stand alone. Amelia's knees hit the dirt road before her mind could stop them. The man was dying. She could see it in the way his chest barely moved, in the dark blood pooling beneath his head, mixing with the red dust like some terrible sacrifice to gods who'd stopped listening to her prayers years ago. His eyes were half open, staring at nothing. And for a moment, just one horrible moment, Amelia saw her husband Thomas lying in that same position 8 years ago, crushed under factory machinery, beyond saving. "Please," she whispered to the stranger, to God, to anyone who might listen. "Please don't die. Not here, not like this." Her hands were shaking as she touched his neck, searching for a pulse. There. Weak, but there. Relief flooded through her so suddenly that she almost sobbed. She didn't know this man, had no reason to care, but she'd seen too much death in her 28 years. She couldn't watch another person slip away while she did nothing. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple, and Amelia knew what this moment meant. A widow alone on a lonely road with an unconscious man. If anyone saw her, if anyone knew, the village would never forgive her. They'd already called her cursed, blamed her for Thomas's death, whispered that any man who came near her would meet misfortune. And here she was, about to prove them right. "God help me," she breathed, and lifted the stranger's shoulders. He was heavy, so heavy her back screamed in protest as she dragged him upright, letting his weight fall against her. Her wrapper was soaking with his blood, her arms burned, but Amelia had spent 8 years carrying loads that broke men's backs. She'd carried Thomas's coffin when his family refused to touch it. She'd carried 3 girls through hunger and sickness and shame. She could carry this too. One step, then another. Her vision blurred with sweat and tears she refused to let fall. The stranger's breathing was wet and ragged against her neck. His blood was warm, too warm, spreading across her clothes like a stain she'd never wash out. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please, sir, stay with me." By the time she reached her compound gate, her 3 girls were rushing out. Ngozi, Thomas's younger sister, stood frozen in the doorway, her walking stick clattering to the ground. At 23, the factory accident had left her with a permanent limp and no marriage prospects. Amelia had promised Thomas's dying mother she'd care for Ngozi, and she had. For 8 years, through everything. Chloe and Kemi, both 21 now, the orphans Amelia had found after the factory collapse, ran forward with their hands over their mouths. "Mama, what happened?" Chloe's voice cracked. "Mama, whose blood is that?" "Help me," Amelia gasped. "Please, help me get him inside." They moved together, these 4 women who'd learned to survive without men, without money, without mercy. They laid the stranger on Amelia's only mattress, the thin foam she'd saved 6 months to buy, and suddenly Amelia was back 8 years ago, washing Thomas's body for burial, trying to make him presentable for his funeral, while his family blamed her for his death.
"He needs a doctor,"
Ngozi said, tears streaming down her face.
"Amelia, he needs—" "We can't afford a doctor,"
Amelia said quietly, reaching for the first aid box. Her hands were steadier now. They always were when someone needed her.
"We do what we can, like always."
As she cleaned the wound on his head, washing away blood and dirt with shaking fingers, she recognized him. The realization hit her like a physical blow. This man. She knew this face. 8 years ago, when the factory collapsed and took Thomas and 37 other men, this man had come with relief supplies. He'd been young then, maybe 25, dressed too nicely for their poor village. But he'd looked at her, really looked at her. Not with pity, not with the disgust she'd seen in Thomas's family's eyes, just with simple, human kindness. He'd handed her a bag of rice, and when she'd tried to thank him, he'd said, "You don't need to thank me. Just take care of yourself." She'd never forgotten those words. In 8 years of struggling, of being called cursed, of watching her girls go hungry, she'd held on to that one moment of gentleness. And now, he was here, bleeding on her mattress, and outside she could hear voices gathering, angry voices, judging voices. "Amelia!" Elder Anthony's shout cut through the evening air. "Amelia, open this gate, now!" The girls looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. They knew what this meant. The village had barely tolerated a widow raising 3 girls alone, but a widow with a strange man in her house? They'd drive her out. They'd take everything. Amelia looked down at the stranger's pale face, at the way his chest rose and fell so slowly, and made her choice. She walked to the gate and opened it. Elder Anthony stood there with 5 other men, their faces hard in the lantern light. Behind them, she could see neighbors gathering, drawn by the commotion like vultures to a carcass. "You've brought shame on yourself," Elder Anthony said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "On all of us. A widow with a man in her house." "He was dying," Amelia interrupted, and her voice didn't shake, not this time. "He was dying on the road, and I saved him. If that's shame, then I'll carry it. But I won't let another person die while I watch." "You don't understand what you've done," Elder Anthony said quietly. "People will talk. They'll say—" "Let them talk," Amelia said. She was crying now, couldn't help it. 8 years of held-back tears finally breaking free. "Let them say I'm cursed. Let them say I'm a bad woman. I don't care anymore. I'm tired of caring what people think while people die." She closed the gate. Behind her, from the mattress, the stranger's weak voice. "Thank you." Amelia turned, and for the first time in 8 years, she felt something besides shame. She felt strong. "Rest now," she said softly. "You're safe here." Even if nowhere else in the world was safe for her anymore. Nathan woke to the smell of fried plantain and the sound of women's voices. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then the pain crashed through his skull like a hammer, and memory followed. The robbery, the knife at his throat, running, falling, and then her. A woman's face above him, round and kind, telling him to stay alive. He opened his eyes. The room was small, smaller than his bathroom back in Lagos. Concrete walls, a tin roof. Through the window, he could see chickens scratching in the dirt. This wasn't a hospital. This was someone's home. "You're awake?" The woman appeared in the doorway carrying a plate. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes, her wrapper stained with what he realized was his own dried blood. "Don't try to sit up yet. You lost a lot of blood." "Where am I?" His voice came out rough, broken. My house? In the village. She set the plate beside him, plantain, yam, and a boiled egg. Food she probably couldn't afford to give away. I'm Amelia. You were dying on the road yesterday. I brought you here. Yesterday. Nathan tried to piece together the timeline. His half-brother's men had found him. They'd beaten him, taken his phone, his wallet, everything. Left him for dead on a rural road where nobody would care about another robbery victim. Except this woman had cared. Why? He asked. You don't know me. Amelia's expression shifted, something painful crossing her face. 8 years ago, my husband died in a factory collapse. You came with relief supplies. You were the only person who looked at me like I was still human. She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. I couldn't leave you to die. Not after you showed me that kindness exists. Nathan remembered. The factory disaster. The widow with 3 young girls clinging to her, her eyes empty with grief. He'd been 25 then, newly returned from university, helping his grandfather's charity foundation. He'd given her rice and cooking oil, and she'd thanked him with tears streaming down her face. And now, she'd saved his life. You shouldn't have, Nathan said quietly. I heard the voices last night. The elders. You'll be punished for helping me. I know. Amelia sat on the floor, her back against the wall. She looked defeated, but there was steel underneath. Elder Anthony came again this morning. The whole village knows. They're saying I've disgraced myself, that no decent woman would bring a strange man into her house. She laughed, but it sounded broken. They already called me cursed for 8 years. What's one more sin? I'll leave, Nathan said, trying to sit up. Pain exploded through his ribs and he gasped. You'll do no such thing. Amelia's voice was firm. You can barely move. Where will you go? Back to that road so those robbers can finish what they started? She shook her head. You'll stay until you're strong enough to walk. I didn't save your life just to watch you throw it away. Through the window, Nathan could see 3 young women working in the compound. One walked with a limp. The other 2 were hanging clothes to dry, glancing nervously at the house. Your daughters? He asked. My family, Amelia corrected. Ngozi is my late husband's sister. Chloe and Kemi are orphans I took in after the factory collapse. We're not related by blood, but we're all each other has. Her voice cracked. And now, because of me, because I couldn't watch you die, I've put them all at risk. At risk? How? Amelia stood, walked to the window. Her hands gripped the frame so tightly her knuckles went white. The village elders control everything here. Who gets help from the government? Who gets water from the borehole? Who gets jobs? If they decide we've brought shame, they can make our lives impossible. She turned back to him and Nathan saw fear in her eyes. Real, deep fear. But worse than that, there's a man, Thomas's cousin. He's been trying to claim this compound, saying it belongs to Thomas's family, not to me. If the elders side with him, if they say I've broken tradition by having you here, they could take everything. My home, my land, everything. Then I'll go to the police, Nathan said. I'll tell them, the police? Amelia laughed, bitter and tired. The police are Elder Anthony's nephews. There's no law here except what the elders say. That's how villages work. Nathan stared at her. This woman had risked everything. Her home, her reputation, her daughter's futures to save a stranger. And now she'd pay the price for her kindness. Unless he could help her. What's your full name? He asked suddenly. Amelia. Just Amelia. Not anymore. Nathan tried to sit up again, fighting through the pain. Listen to me carefully. My name is Nathan, and I'm going to fix this. I promise you. I'm going to fix what my presence here has broken." Amelia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You can't fix shame, Nathan. You can't fix what people think. I knew the cost when I carried you through that gate. I made my choice." "Then let me make mine," Nathan said. Outside, voices rose again, angry voices. The elders were coming back. And this time, they weren't alone. Nathan had been with them for 2 weeks when Thomas came back from the dead. Amelia was at the market selling the dried fish Nathan had helped her advertise online when she heard the whispers. A black Lexus SUV had pulled into the village. Expensive, foreign, the kind of car that turned heads and started rumors. "They say he's looking for someone," the woman at the next stall said, her eyes gleaming with gossip. "A rich man from Lagos, very handsome. Asking about you, Amelia." Amelia's blood went cold. "About me?" "Yes. He says he's your husband." The basket fell from Amelia's hands, fish scattering across the dusty ground. Her husband. Thomas. But Thomas was dead. She'd buried him 8 years ago. She'd mourned him. She'd carried his memory like a stone around her neck while his family blamed her for his death. "That's impossible," Amelia whispered. "My husband is dead." But even as she said it, she was running through the market, past stalls and shocked faces, her heart hammering against her ribs. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. Dead men didn't drive Lexus SUVs. Dead men didn't come back. Unless they'd never been dead at all. She reached her compound and stopped. The SUV was parked outside her gate, sleek and black, and so out of place in their poor village it looked like something from another world. And standing beside it, wearing an expensive suit and designer sunglasses, was Thomas. Alive. Healthy. Smiling. Amelia's legs gave out. She would have fallen if Ngozi hadn't caught her, appearing from nowhere to wrap an arm around her waist. "Amelia," Ngozi whispered, her voice shaking. That's my brother. But how? How is he alive?" Thomas removed his sunglasses. His eyes found Amelia across the compound, and something flickered there. Guilt? Regret? Or was it something colder? "Amelia!" he called out, his voice smooth and confident. Nothing like the shy, struggling man she'd married 12 years ago. "We need to talk." Nathan appeared in the doorway behind them, fully dressed for the first time since the attack. He'd recovered quickly over the past 2 weeks, and Amelia had learned he was educated, clever with technology, and patient with her girls. He'd taught her how to use social media to sell her products. Orders had started coming in from Port Harcourt and even Lagos, money she'd never dreamed of making. And somewhere in those 2 weeks, while nursing him back to health, while laughing at his jokes and listening to his stories about the city, Amelia had felt something dangerous growing in her chest. Something that felt like hope. Now Thomas was here, and hope was a stupid thing to feel. "Who's that?" Nathan asked quietly, but Amelia heard the edge in his voice. "My husband," Amelia said, and the word tasted like poison. "My dead husband." Thomas walked toward them, and the whole village seemed to hold its breath. People were gathering now, drawn by the spectacle. Elder Anthony, the market women, even children stopped playing to watch. "Amelia, you look well," Thomas said, stopping a few feet away. His eyes swept over her, and she saw the faint surprise there. She'd lost weight in the past 2 weeks. Nathan's medicine from the city clinic had helped with the sickness she'd been hiding. She looked healthier than she had in years. "I've come back for you. For my family."
Your family? Ngozi's voice was sharp, cutting. Your family? You were dead, Thomas. We buried you. We mourned you. Where have you been for 8 years?
Thomas's smile faltered. It's complicated, sister. The factory collapsed. I was badly injured. I woke up in a hospital in Lagos with no memory. It took years to recover, to remember who I was. And by then, he trailed off, his eyes sliding away. By then, what? Amelia found her voice, and it came out stronger than she expected. By then you had a new life. By then you forgot you had a wife, a sister, responsibilities. I married someone else, Thomas said simply. Her name is Funmi. Her father owns a construction company in Lagos. I didn't know if you'd waited, Amelia. I didn't know if you still wanted me. The words hit like physical blows. Married. He'd married someone else. While she'd spent 8 years struggling to feed his sister, raising orphans, being called cursed by everyone who knew her, he'd been living in Lagos with a rich wife. So why are you here? Nathan stepped forward, positioning himself between Thomas and Amelia. If you have a new wife, a new life, why come back? Thomas's eyes narrowed, taking in Nathan's presence, his protective stance, the way Amelia leaned toward him unconsciously. Who are you? Thomas asked, his voice cold now. Someone who actually cares about her, Nathan said quietly. Someone who didn't abandon her. This is between my wife and me, Thomas snapped. He turned back to Amelia. I'm here because you're still legally married to me. Because my family wants this compound back. Because Funmi's family wants me to clean up my past before they make me a partner in their business. He paused. I'll give you money, Amelia. Enough to rent a small place in town for you and the girls. Monthly support. But you need to stay away from my new life. You can't embarrass me. You can't tell people about Funmi. You have to let me go. The village had gone silent. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what she would do. Amelia looked at Thomas, at this stranger wearing her husband's face. She'd loved him once, worked herself to the bone to support him, defended his memory for 8 years against people who called him useless, who said he deserved to die. And he wanted her to disappear quietly so he wouldn't be embarrassed. Get out, Amelia said softly. What? Get out of my compound. Her voice was rising now, 8 years of grief and rage finally breaking free. Get out before I call everyone in this village to witness what kind of man you really are. You want me to stay quiet? To hide? I've been hiding my whole life, Thomas, hiding my pain, hiding my shame, hiding the fact that your family blamed me for your death while I starved to feed your sister. She stepped toward him, and he actually backed up. But I'm done hiding. So get in your expensive car and go back to Lagos. Go back to your rich wife. But don't you ever come here and tell me what to do. Thomas's face darkened. You'll regret this, Amelia. I'm not asking, I'm telling you. Stay away from my new life, or I'll make sure you lose everything. He walked back to his SUV and drove away, leaving only dust and the sound of Amelia's ragged breathing. Nathan touched her shoulder gently. Are you okay? Amelia turned to him, tears streaming down her face, but for the first time in 8 years, they weren't tears of shame. I don't know, she whispered, but I think I will be. Then she saw the woman standing by the gate. Beautiful, expensive clothes, cold eyes watching everything. Thomas's new wife had come to deliver her own message. Funmi didn't look like someone who'd come to a village before. Her high heels sank into the dusty ground with each step, but she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes were fixed on Amelia, cold and calculating. like a snake measuring its prey.
So you're the famous first wife,
Funmi said, her voice smooth and educated, Lagos accent, money in every syllable.
Thomas told me you were simple. He didn't mention you were stubborn.
Amelia's girls had gathered behind her now. Ngozi with her walking stick. Chloe and Kemi are on either side. Nathan stood close, his presence solid and reassuring. The village crowd had grown larger, sensing drama.
What do you want?
Amelia asked, keeping her voice steady.
To make things clear.
Funmi smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes.
Thomas is my husband now, legally. We got married in Lagos 2 years ago. I come from a powerful family. My father builds roads, bridges, and government contracts. We have connections everywhere.
She paused, letting the threat sink in.
Thomas made a mistake coming here. He was trying to be kind, offering you money. But kindness, I've learned, is often mistaken for weakness. I don't want his money,
Amelia said.
Good, because you won't get any.
Funmi took another step closer.
But here's what you will do. You'll marry someone else. Anyone, I don't care who. That man standing behind you looks desperate enough.
She glanced at Nathan with disgust.
Marry him. Move on. Forget Thomas exists. Because as long as you're alone, as long as you're available, Thomas will keep thinking about you. And I won't have that.
Nathan's hand found Amelia's shoulder, steadying her. You can't force someone to marry, he said quietly.
Can't I?
Funmi's smile widened.
Let me tell you how power works in this country. My father's company employs half the village's men in this city. One phone call, and they lose their jobs. The road repairs scheduled for this area? Cancelled. The new school building? Never happens. And that's just the beginning.
She turned her gaze to Chloe and Kemi.
Those girls go to the community secondary school, don't they? It would be tragic if their admission papers got lost. If they couldn't take their final exams. You wouldn't,
Amelia breathed, fear clutching her heart. This is the end of the story. For now. You witnessed a woman broken by grief find her voice again. You saw how one act of compassion sparked a war she never asked for. Amelia learned that kindness has a price, but so does silence. Thomas revealed that some people only return when they need something destroyed. And Funmi showed us the terrifying face of power without mercy. But here's what matters most. Amelia stopped hiding. After 8 years of shame, she finally said enough. The battle isn't over. Funmi's threats still hang in the air. But Amelia is no longer fighting alone. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that standing up for yourself is never too late. Like, subscribe, and comment. What would you do in Amelia's place?